Hey friends, I'm back with another video, and this one is going to be about how I play a warrior. And I got the most basic type warrior you can get, a human warrior. So we're level 46, but don't worry, if you're brand new to the game, there's not going to be too much different between 46 and level 1, honestly. It's kind of just swing weapons and hit some buttons and activate a few abilities. And that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with abilities, because if you click over here, and I'm going to move this because I know my picture's over here in the right bottom corner. The actions window here, which I usually keep to the right, you'll see, you right click and you'll see options like bash, disarm, kick, and taunt, okay? And there's more to being a warrior than these 4 abilities. There's also bind wounds. Can't forget that. But no, there's more than just bind wounds too. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna go and find the merchant. So here's the POK library, and let's make it extra easy for the people out there that are first-time players. And in the actions window here, you're gonna hit the find button. And that's here on main page of actions. And you hit find, and then you can go over here to the top and sort of pull these apart a little bit so they're easier to read and it's not just a big mess. And we're going to scroll down until we see warrior tomes, because that's what we want. We want to find the warrior tomes, and here they are. And there's warrior guild masters here too, where you could learn or train up in some of your skills. But let's go to warrior tomes. And even in the tutorial zone, there is an NPC that sells the warrior tomes, and the tomes work very similarly to spells for like a magic user, except these are tomes. They're sort of combat abilities that you can use and you can trigger during fights and even after fights. Some of them can even help heal you a little bit. So I'm level 46 and I want to see if I'm missing any tomes, and I am missing 2. You see here there's one for level 30 and one for level 40. So I'm going to buy both of these, and to buy it you could just left click on it. You can hold the control key and then left click on the buy button. That way you only buy one, because you don't need more than one for each. And then you look at the books here, and this goes, it's the same for like the level 1 to 10 to 20 books, You get them in your inventory, you right click on it, and that means you've scribed it. It says you have learned a new combat ability, and you click on the next one, and it says you have learned a new combat ability. So I have those, and if I want to, I could purchase let's buy the level 52 ones, and we'll even get like the 53 and the 54, because that's only 4 books. It doesn't take up a ton of room. And I'll wait to get the level 55 ones. And where do you access your combat abilities? Because, you don't have a spell book. It's really weird, actually. I can hit the B book and open up a spell book. That's nuts. I almost think that they should put combat abilities in the spell book. That would be brilliant. But no, instead, if you hit Alt-C, at least that's what it is here on mine, it's Alt-C, it opens up this combat abilities window, and you can right click on an empty slot, and you can look at combat abilities techniques, and provoke, elbow strike, and throw stone. And then you can look at disciplines, focused will discipline. You can also just hit the S button over here, and it gives you a perfect list of every single ability you have. So if I want to have fearless ready, well, I can click there and make a hot button for fearless. If I want to make sure I have resist ready, I can left click on resist discipline and make a hotkey for that and put it here. You can also, if you choose, make a hotkey and put it in any of your other hotbars as well, just like with spells. And you don't actually have mana, but you do have endurance, and these combat abilities may consume a portion of your endurance. So once you feel like you have your combat abilities, we're going to go to the next step, and that's where I'm going to show you how I actually play this character. And it looks like I have to go to Dranic's Scar to kill 5 bats. So what better place to go than somewhere that I'll actually have a bit of a challenge. And so I hail him and I say, wish to go to Discord, and I'll get magically whisked away the Discord. All right, now that we're in Discord, I'm going to also set myself up here. I'm going to right click and set myself up as main assist and main tank because I'm here alone, except I do have a mercenary and it's just a priest mercenary or a healer. So that is there to keep me alive. They don't participate in the battle at all. Being a warrior, or even if you're a rogue or a monk or something like that that has zero magic, you may want to also get yourself some potions. Potions can be really helpful. So I'm gonna go through a few of the ones that I have here on my hotbar. You can right click and hit inspect anytime you have stuff like this. So here we go. I have invisibility potion. These are very helpful. They're a little pricey. I think they're 10 platinum each, and I've got 40, so that cost me 400 plat, but it's worth it. And the cast time is instant, so it's really good if you want to run through an area where there's a lot of critters that will try to attack you, and a lot of times those kinds of things, they'll attack you, but they won't offer any kind of like real XP. They might be sort of trivial. So there's a named over here. So I'm going to go grab him and then I'm going to continue explaining the rest of the stuff. I'm going to jump off my mount too so I can better use some of my abilities here. And during combat, you always want to use provoke. So I always keep a copy of provoke right here next to my main stuff that I usually spam during battle. I also want to remove this assist key and replace it with my aggro key because I'm not in a group. I'm not assisting anybody right now. And I think it would be good for me to turn the sound up just a tad. As a tank or a warrior is basically a tank. Your job is two things. One, it's usually as the main tank, and a tank and a warrior are kind of two different things, or like a tank and a fighter, you know? Even though there's no actual fighter class in Everquest, it's basically either like a rogue or a warrior, you know? They both just mostly wearing armor and using melee weapons to do their damage. So if you are wanting to be the main tank of a group, you're going to want to be able to hold aggro. You're going to want to create as much hate in whatever you're fighting as possible. That's the difference between, you know, say a rogue or a ranger or any other class and a tank. And the three real tank classes are warrior, paladin, shadow knight. Other people might say, well, I can tank. You know, and they might be a ranger, or they might be this, or they might be that. But being able to hold your own and survive getting hit a few times is different than being the tank. Because a rogue and a monk and a ranger, sure, they can generate some hate, but they don't have skills that are specifically created for that purpose, where a warrior does. And this guy had crap for loot for being a named, you know. So the skills that I use to generate hate, what are they? Well, at the very basic level, you have taunt, and there's no real explanation for it here in game, but taunt is like you're running up to a monster and calling its mother a naughty word. You're making it angry. You're taunting him. You're trying to make it hate you. You're trying to make it so the monster attacks you and only you. You don't want it attacking anyone else in the group, because all those little gnome wizards and enchanters and stuff are very, very squishy. They're highly allergic to bites and teeth and swords and abuse of any kind. So you want to keep those little squishy friends of yours safe, especially the priest who might be keeping you alive. That's right, I gotta go kill bats. So let me go find one of these caves here, because there's bats in the caves. And as good as some of the other classes are at doing damage and holding their own and being able to take a hit and shrug it off, a lot of them don't have abilities focused on holding aggro. But a warrior, a paladin, and a shadow knight do. So taunt is one of them. It's the most rudimentary. But then you've got other ones that are a little more advanced, like provoke. Provoke is it bellows profanity at your opponent. See what I said? Say something about its mother, causing them to become very angry with you. So, and then you get upgrades of this later on. You might get like, you know, provoke, and then later I think you get something like bellow. And I might actually have bought Bellow. Let me take a look. Tome of Mighty Strike Discipline. That's not it. Bellow. Okay. Yeah, Bellow you get at level 52. So it is the upgrade to Provoke. So as soon as you get Bellow at 52, make sure you put that over Provoke, because there's no reason in keeping Provoke there because they share the same timer. It's not like you can build a little extra aggro by using Bellow and Provoke. That'd be great if that was the case. Honestly, I think warriors could use it, but that's not how it is. That's not how that works. So here we go. We got some rats and bats and stuff in this cave. So let's go and, I guess, fight these guys. So the warrior, the paladin, and the shadow knight may not have the highest level of damage output, like DPS as they call it, but they do their share, and they're mostly there to take the abuse, to take all the damage that other monsters are dealing. You know, it's like in an army. You know, you have the military tank in the front, and then you've got the infantry in the back. The infantry might be like your DPS, and the tank is the thing that's going to take all the shelling or the bullets, you know, and it's not going to be beaten very easily. So another button that you can press while you're fighting things is kick. Kick is what it sounds like. It's a kick. It gives you, you know, it causes a little more damage. And I'm a warrior. I can't snare these guys. So what I'm going to do is when something else starts attacking me, I'm going to go back up away from other monsters, because as you see, when the rats get close to death, they try to run away. And that's not good. I don't want them to get to where their friends are. I want to pull them away from the other creatures that we're fighting. I'm also right now trying to cast skin spikes on myself with the potion. And alright, I succeeded, finally. I also have some poison. So that's what I was going to do. I was going to continue talking about some of the potions that I have. So right here I have, let's do inspect, a level 40 distillate of celestial healing. So in case something happens to my priest here, like they fall asleep, they're too busy playing gems, I don't know. Usually this is a problem when it comes to player character healers. They might get distracted. They might have to go poop. I don't know. So you have some healing potion to help with the healing. Then we have Distillate of Alacrity, which is also nice. And some of these potions are made by shaman, which, you know, a nice friendly shaman. But you can also buy some of these from merchants, like potion merchants. And Potion of Alacrity gives you haste. Haste just means you get to attack faster. And I already have a haste on me, so I'm going to wait to use that one. Then there is also this one over here, Distillate of Replenishment, and that gives you a regeneration. So it's like a constant, steady heal. And look, there's another rat coming, so I guess I'm going to grab him. I'm going to back up closer to the entrance here again, because as you see, by backing up a little bit, it gave me more time to finish the rat off, so we didn't get his buddies involved, and it was that much easier to just kill him without getting overwhelmed. Because as a warrior, my DPS isn't super awesome. It's not like a mage or a necromancer or a rogue. So I have to allow for things like this. There are some weapons that a warrior can get, I think, that may cast a snare on monsters. There's also some potions that you can get from a shaman. Shaman can craft that you can throw at a monster that can snare them. So there's that. See, now the bat joined in to attack. So I'm hoping I can kill that rat before any more come. And yes, it worked. And so I'm again running to the entrance. And this is just my own personal strategy. You don't have to do this. Maybe you're just willing to just go all out, and you rather have 10 things hitting you all at once because maybe you really, really trust your priest mercenary or whatever cleric you have in your group. But if you're soloing like this with just a mercenary, you kind of, at least I like to take all this into consideration and back up and give myself room to kill a thing because it's going to try to run away when it's wounded. So this is another potion that I've already used during this combat. And this is Distillate of Skin Spikes. This is also made by Shaman. This you cannot buy in any merchant store unless it was just ended up being there because some shaman made some, didn't want it, and sold it to the merchant. But it's never going to be a regular staple item at any merchant. You buy this off of shaman, and it gives you a damage shield. So you'll see here, every time this guy hits me, it's going to take some damage. Oh wow, I did 430 poison damage, my poison procced on this guy. I'm not really seeing where the damage shield is happening. Okay, here we go. The bat got 35 points of non-melee damage, so that is how much the damage shield was doing every time he hit me. It took 35 points. So that's like just an extra little counterattack. You may as well. And this isn't even the best skin spike potion I could have at my level. This is just one of the easier ones to make, so that's why I have this. The other ones, the higher level ones past 25, require harder to find materials to craft. So okay, I pulled another bat, and I'm gonna pull him this way just because there's still another bat in that cave, and I don't want to get the ad if I don't need it. I'm sure I'd be fine because these guys are light blue, but I'm trying to, you know, show this is the strategy that I usually use a lot if I'm somewhere where I can pull a monster away from their friends. I will do it. Sometimes it might be useful to throw like a fishbone dart at something to get its attention. You could use the skill throw stone if you want to get that close. Although I'm not a big fan of throw stone because a lot of times you have to get so close that their friends that are around them will aggro anyway. And don't forget to chase after the thing when it starts to run away, because if you don't, it will probably run away and never die because you're not beating on it anymore. So these guys are all dropping some armor too, which is pretty nice. So there's 3 more bats in here. So here I'm gonna throw a javelin at this guy, or actually an arrow, my bad. Looks like I have a bow and arrow. And okay, I ended up getting 2 bats. But there were 3 there, so at least I didn't have to fight all 3 at the same time. You might think, why am I bothering to taunt when I'm basically alone and it's just a mercenary healer? Well, when a mercenary, even a mercenary priest or any priest heals you, that also generates a lot of hate and a lot of aggro. And a lot of times when a priest heals you, the monsters will all go and try to attack the priest, because to them they're like, hey, we had to fight hard to get him down to that many hit points, and you're healing him? Screw you, buddy. So they're gonna all try to, you know, jump your bones and kick your butt because they don't like it when you heal somebody. And look, this bat is actually turned around and facing the tank or the healer. So I'm actually going to select them to give them a couple of taunts and a little beating to make them like want to just hit me. I'm like, hey, leave them alone, fight me. I'm the one you want. Or maybe I'm saying something bad about their mother or something, like your mama's a fruit bat, or like your mama's just a winged mouse. Your mama's sonar is so bad that, I don't know, you run into like stink bugs and need to go to the hospital. I'm not too good with your mama jokes or insults. But anyway, so yeah, just pretend I'm saying a whole bunch of really clever stuff about this bat's mom. And so that's sort of what a tank does. They insult their prey. They say bad things about a bat's mom, and or maybe their dad, you know. I was like, hey bat, I heard you were adopted. It's like, your bat parents didn't really want you. You were raised by a hamster. So there we go, I leveled up. Bat saliva. Okay, well, it doesn't say quests, so it might be worth a couple of plat to a merchant. So I'm 47 now, woohoo! I gotta kill 1 more bat, so let's try to finish this little quest here. And here, there's no more bats in the cave, so I'm not going to run up to the entrance, because the bats by the entrance might, or bats or rats, might be respawning here soon. So remember, that can happen too, and then you're going to end up with ads anyway. So it's kind of good to like move your pull spot around a little bit sometimes, unless you want to get things spawning right on top of you during a fight. And if you know they're easy to kill, it won't be a problem. But if they have been giving you a really hard time, then you might want to think about that. So there we go. We finished them off. We're getting a nice amount of Defiant dropping over here. And we have Simple Shoulders, Flawed Cape, and Rough Belt. So since the shoulders are the worst part that we have, I'm going to grab the Ornate Combatant's Mantle. I got Ornate Plate Gloves, but I already have Flawed, which is better. I have Ornate Cloth, which I can't use, and then Ornate Chain, which I can't use. So we're going to hop on the mount and we're going to leave here, and then I'm going to finish up explaining a couple of things about the warrior. Just want to get to somewhere that it's sort of safe-ish, so I don't have to stop every couple of seconds to fight something. There's that Ukin, he respawned, but that one's not a name, so I'm not really caring much about it. So let's look at a couple of other things that a warrior can and or can't do. So a warrior can wield just about any weapon at all. They can wield two-handers, one-handers, piercing, blunt, slashing. They can do hand-to-hand, but I don't know how good they would be at that. I think there's a lot of weapons that are monk and beast lord only, so I really wouldn't look to do hand-to-hand combat as a warrior unless you're playing on P99 and you just happen to be naked because you're on a corpse run, in which case it might be a good idea to either keep a spare weapon in the bank or to train up a little bit in hand-to-hand. So I mentioned healing. What if you're on a server you don't have access to a mercenary to heal you, or you're completely solo and alone and you can't heal yourself? Well, there's two ways to heal yourself a little bit anyway after combat. So one of them, I usually have it here on the abilities page, and that's Bind Wound. Bind Wound is like just this really old skill from back in the day of Everquest, and everybody starts off with a small stack of 20 bandages in their inventory, and so you would target yourself, you would hit bind wounds, so I'll show you, and it's like you're crouching down, and it's like you're using the bandages to bind your wounds. So see, I had 20 and now I have 19, so I used a bandage. So it's basically like putting bandages on a gash, like a bloody gash on your leg because you got bit or whatever. And when you put those bandages there, it will help. It will mend the wound. And you start off with a skill of bind wound of 1, and you're not really going to skill up or see any kind of difference when your health is already at 100. But if you had a really rough fight, you're down to like your last 10 or 5% 5 to 10% of your health. You have bandages. Target yourself. Start bandaging. If you can sit down, sit down. I know on not TLPs, but on project servers, some of them let you sit down and bind wounds, but some will not. You have to stand while you bind wounds. It's weird. Another way of healing yourself, as I covered, was healing potions. But if you don't have access to healing potions or like regeneration potions, there is Focused Will. And here's Focused Will. It's one of your combat abilities. You got to go and get the tome from the POK library called Focused Will. And once you have it, it's here in the book, and I'll show you. You press it, and there you see the discipline. It's like a little thing will appear, and it just heals you over time. It's like a short regeneration spell that will help heal you over time. The downside to using Focused Will is that you're vulnerable. You're very vulnerable when you're using Focused Will, and if something comes up and attacks you, I think you might actually have a disadvantage. You may take additional damage or something. So if you're using Focused Will, make sure you're not in any kind of active combat or near a place where something might come up and start beating the crap out of you, because you might end up taking more damage than you gained by using the Focused Will discipline. And I believe that you do get upgrades to this one also later on in the game. Covering a couple of the newbie skills, there's Throw Stone. Throw Stone is just like an ability to get a monster's attention, and I'll show you with this peon over here. I run up and I use Throw Stone, and see, I'm still not close enough. This is what I said. You gotta be really close for it to work. So it's like trying to say I picked a rock up from the ground and threw it at him, and it caused a single point of damage, and it's enough to get their attention so they attack you. If you also look here under combat page of your abilities or actions, you have options like disarm and bash. Disarm is a skill that means you manage to pry the sword or whatever weapon it is out of your enemy's hand. So if your enemy is attacking you with a sword or a hammer, disarm will knock that weapon to the ground. And a lot of times you'll even see it there. You'll see it on the ground. And after you kill the guy, you can reach down and pick it up. I used to do that a lot with fighting hill giants. And I would always try to find the fine steel on the ground afterwards, because you could sell it for 5 platinum. So elbow strike is a similar thing to throw stone, except that one is really short range. It's mostly, I think, to be used to do, like, it just does like 5 points of damage. It's just to do a little extra damage and maybe to generate a little more hatred, similar to the provoke ability. Like I said, kick is just a kick. It's an extra, it does a little extra damage with your foot. So it's like a third attack that you get early on in the game. Bash is something that you can only use if you have a shield equipped. Basically, you are bashing something with your shield. Bash has the possibility of stunning the target. So you want to use bash maybe with a shield if you're fighting a wizard, a mage, a necromancer, or an enchanter, because anytime you see them start doing this, the whole like blah 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 blah, I'm going to curse you or whatever, you want to bash them, because the bash, if it stuns them, will interrupt their casting, keeping you safe for a few more seconds. So a good warrior will know exactly when to bash. Paladins and Shadow Knights also get the bash ability, but they do not get the kick ability. I'm pretty sure I covered poison, but if I missed it, you can get poison from rogues, something like Spider's Bite. There's another one called Scorpion's Agony. Scorpion's Agony is almost the same as Spider's Bite, except it's better for tanks because it also has an increased hate modifier, so that causes a little more aggro. It causes a little more hatred in the target. And I recommend, if you're a warrior, if you're even a paladin, a shadow knight, or even a ranger, a rogue, or, well, not a rogue, because rogues get their own poison, or a monk, or just anybody who does melee damage, get yourself some poison from a rogue, because it's always nice to get that extra damage. Because you saw earlier when I was fighting that guy and my Spider's Bite went off, like I just now hit the Dragorn Peon for 291 from the Spider's Bite, and then another time I hit him for 430 using the Spider's Bite. So it sometimes will proc for more, sometimes a little less. Oh, and here a third time it went off for another 430. And then, a fourth time for another 430. And a fifth time? Wow! Most of the damage I did against that peon was from the Spider's Bite, it looks like. So it looks like it procced like 5 or 6 different times during that battle. So they do proc a lot, and they do give you a nice bonus, like extra damage. Another one I recommend highly is getting yourself some potions that do damage shield, especially if you're soloing. These will help. And of course, you could always get yourself a nice mount. Mounts help you run faster. If you look here under stats and then you look at velocity, this mount will take me up to 64 velocity. It also gives me a little extra buff called Mount Blessing Azia. Gives me an extra 250 to my hit points, endurance, and mana, even though I don't have mana. It also gives me an extra armor class of 10, and it gives me a plus 25 to all saves except for corruption by 25. So it's a really nice buff to have. And even if you go indoors, that buff is still there. That buff is permanent until you click it off. As far as ranged weapons go, warriors can use just about any ranged weapon also. They can use bows, arrows, javelins, throwing knives. I don't know if they could use throwing stars though. Maybe, maybe not. They could also use like fishbone darts and things like that. So wide range of weapons. The weapons I was using during this video was this Cauldron Minions hammer. I think this was a drop in a Lost Dungeons of Norath, and it's 1529, so not too bad. And then I had a pale platinum longsword, which is 1224, has a few stats on it. It's recommended 35 to 39. I'll probably look into upgrading my weapons in a little bit. As you see, I did get this warrior and worker's sledge mallet, which is another thing you could always do for your warrior. It's a very easy quest. I made a video about this, and you should be able to find it. If you look up worker's sledge mallet under my videos, it will appear, and it is a hammer that during combat, if it procs, it will take you straight to the over there. Now you have to be level 50 before it starts procking, okay? You can equip it at level 1, but it's only at level 50 when it starts procking, which is good because if I don't know, an agnostic human warrior might or might not be welcomed in the evil outpost of over there. So it's good if you're a higher level that you can actually take some of the hits if they attack you. But there's benefits to porting there. One, if you're in a really nasty situation and you're about to die, you know, get on your bandolier, switch to the hammer, and you'll port there. And it might be safer than wherever you are. And then once you're there, you can hit yourself with an invisibility potion to sneak out of the outpost, because there's a plane of knowledge book right there. And yes, we have Origin and Throne of Heroes, but they have very long cast times, and the chances are it will get interrupted if you're trying to cast it in combat. So this has been my little guide on how I play a warrior. Feel free to tell me if I missed anything. Again, this covers mostly like level 1 through like level 50. I'm sure that things get very different at higher levels. I don't have a high-end warrior right now, but I do feel like a warrior is a good class for beginners, because if you rather do combat instead of spell casting, this is probably a lot simpler than most other classes, because they just deal with weapons and they just have their combat abilities. I hope you found this helpful and or useful. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. If you disliked the video, you can give it a thumbs down. Whether you liked or disliked the video, I would love if you left a comment telling me what I did right or wrong during this video. If you like what I do here and you want to support me and support the channel, consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed, or you could join the channel as a channel member. Channel members get special perks and privileges, like an invite to join our private Discord server. If becoming a YouTube member of the channel isn't your cup of tea, consider joining the Patreon. You'll find a link to the Patreon in the description below. Finally, you could also leave a super thanks. A super thanks is like a little mini donation. You just click the little thanks button below this video, and that is another way that you can help support me and support the channel. I'd like to thank all of our channel members and Patreon members, which you see on the screen now before you. Thank you all. You guys help me out, you support me, and you help keep the lights on. So a shout out to all of you. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and a wonderful tomorrow.